I know it's hot here in Lexington where I'm at. I don't know about Kansas where Jake and Lily are, well, but I'm pretty sure we're in for a good conversation no matter what, and maybe some good drinks at that too. We got some fun guests for you this time around as we welcome in the duo of Lily B. Moonflower and Jake Keegan, better known as MoonShroom, and their new album "Take a Trip" is out now. Y'all, welcome in.
Welcome. Should
Good
we
to
crack
be
our
here.
beers?
Oh yeah, we should crack the beers. Start off. We can maybe we can.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Glad to be here.
No, I'm glad y'all are here. I always enjoying a drink with our guests, and you guys are based out of Kansas City, right? So I'm guessing you got it. What are you guys drinking tonight, or what's your favorite go-to things?
Well, you gotta have a Boulevard if you're from Kansas City. This is a space camper, so it's pretty fitting for MoonShroom, a MoonShroom bevy.
Yeah, I also believe that Space Camper was Boulevard's comeback beer, because they were always the hometown beer. You know, they had these amazing smokestack series, and then they sold to Duvel, which is like a bigger company. And then there was a while where I wasn't sure how I felt about Boulevard, but just as I was doubting the hometown team, they totally made a sweet comeback with this Space Camper beer. Space Camper's amazing. But yeah, then I'm drinking a smaller Kansas City brewery called Call Sign Brewing. It's a veterans-owned brewing company. I believe, it's run by veterans, and they name their beers uh, after veterans, and to honor fallen soldiers, and they're all for good causes for soldiers and stuff like that. So there's some really nice people. So we're drinking the Kansas City beers tonight.
I love that. I'm a big fan of Boulevard. I love their wheat. Tank 7 are pretty good. And then it's been a while since I've had them, and I haven't been able to ever get out there. But Mean Mule Distilling, which makes some not tequila, because you can't call it tequila if you make it up here, but agave spirits and so forth. So I've been fortunate to have them on, and y'all got some good, despite what people may think of yes, good beer, but you guys just do good drinks out there.
Yeah, we do, yeah. That Mean Mule place, I actually took Jake there. I surprised him for his birthday 2 years ago, I think it was, and blindfolded him and took him to his favorite place to eat lunch, which is Kansas City Joe's Barbecue. And then after that, I had planned to take him to the Mean Mule Distilling place, and we did a little tequila test there.
Yeah, yep. She took me on a tequila surprise date. It's really funny. I used to be in a house band at a whiskey bar in Kansas City called the Westport Saloon, and I drank enough Four Roses whiskey for the rest of my life, and probably a few
10
other
lifetimes to come.
Yeah. I probably drank enough Four Roses whiskey for enough lifetimes to come, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done drinking whiskey, and I kind of just switched to normal beer drinking. And then I met Lily, and then she was on to tequila, so I started drinking tequila, and that's on an occasion thing, you know. The rest of the band also likes tequila, so sometimes we'll do a celebratory tequila shot on stage.
I like it. I am in Kentucky. Normally I do bourbon, but I know you guys like some beer, so I decided to go a little barrel-aged beer and a little tart cherry wheat from Kentucky Brewing, Lexington Brewing here in town, and it's got a good flavor to it. But I did, like I said, I do enjoy the boulevards, and the call sign sounds fantastic. So are you all with beer, IPAs, Pilsner? What's your go-to there?
I'm a hazy IPA guy. Personally, I've learned that. I've learned that I like the East Coast style IPAs more than the West Coast style. Not to say that there aren't some good West Coast style IPAs, but sometimes there's ones that they taste more like a pine cone, or like they're a little bit of danker hops. I like the citrusy hops and the hazy. I like the East Coast style for sure.
Yeah, and I find whatever beer Jake likes tastes pretty good to me, so.
Yeah, typically, Lily actually drinks hard kombucha sometimes.
Yeah, it's good.
The first time we bought it, I was like, oh, we're spending like $12 on a 6-pack for something that's probably only 4%. And then I looked at it, and it was like a whopping like 10% beer, and I was like, wow, okay, this thing packs a punch.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. You're spreading that, you're trying all sorts of things and having fun, and that creativity maybe with what you pour. I feel like that's what you guys do with music as well, and whether that was in church or maybe just jamming along the way. How did y'all get into music? Have you always been into music? Where does the love of music come from?
So I feel like we've both loved music since childhood. My grandpa actually took me out and got me a guitar when I was 8 because he thought I was a real shy kid, and he thought maybe playing music would help me get out there a little bit more and be less shy. So I've been playing guitar since I was 8 and performing since about 10. And I did play in the church band at one point, but that was kind of short-lived. And then I did like some rock camp growing up. That was always fun. And then started my own band and started writing a bunch when I was like in my teens, and then till now, and still writing to this day. And then Jake, he also played since he was about 9 or so.
Yeah, I just remember wanting to. I had a little. Me and my brother shared this little nylon string acoustic guitar, and we both started playing. And then eventually, I was like, "Oh, I want an electric guitar," and got one of those Fender Squire starter packs, And then me and my brother and my friends, we were always trying to get together and jam after school and start a band. I believe at one point we were trying to start a band that had like 4 electric guitars, so to where I figured it out eventually. You don't need that many guitars, but heck, sometimes we have a lot of guitars in our band, so maybe I didn't learn.
Yeah, in our band we kind of switch around what instruments we play. So like Jake will play the guitar, then he'll play the dobro. Our other bandmate will play the mandolin, and then he'll play the electric guitar and the melodica sometimes. And even our bass player, he'll switch from like the upright bass to electric bass. So sometimes we have like 4 guitars on stage. If you
But
count
they're not all
electric bass guitar.
They're not all the same guitar, so that's different.
Yeah.
So you did learn. You did learn.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're all
Yeah.
they're all different. Hey, and those guys, Colby and Zach, they also like drinking beer.
Oh yeah. Big beer guys.
Well, and you talk about kind of Lily, you kind of had your own thing going there for a little while, and then obviously you two got together. And what led to the formation of MoonShroom, and obviously where did the name come from?
Yeah, so when we started, when we met, I asked him to record on my album, and then we kind of got to know each other from there. And then he started playing in my band, and I started playing in his band, and we got to know each other, and eventually fell in love, and then formed MoonShroom in 2022, so it could be like our collaboration project with his songs, my songs, and songs we've written together. And we actually just got married 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So
Yeah. One thing led to another.
And then,
cheers.
and then cheers. And then this past 3 weeks, we were on our honeymoon shroom tour out on the West Coast, and it was kind of like a full circle moment because when we thought of the name MoonShroom and the concept for the band, we were out on the West Coast, and we were as a duo then, and we were camping at the base of Mount Shasta, and we were kicking around band names, kind of like putting words together, and then when I spouted out MoonShroom, Jake was like, "Oh, I think that's it." We gotta buy the domain name for that, and then we bought the domain name, the website name, that night for it.
Yeah, it was a good play on words. It happened naturally because for a few years there, like we were both doing our own separate things, which was great, and we were also playing in each other's projects, which was awesome. But it would like lend itself to a lot of times there being this thing of like, oh, okay, it's your show. So I'm not going to sing any of my songs, or if she's sitting in on my show, she wouldn't be singing it or leading any songs, And from a booking perspective, it'd be like, oh, okay, like we have these regional shows lined up, like, oh, we just went here with my band. Okay, next time, like, we're getting a follow-up offer to come back. Like, do we do it with the band we just went there with, or do we do it with, like, the new band? Or it would result in me, like, booking 2 shows at a time, you know, which was a lot of us going and playing the same venues and, like, different iterations. And eventually it was just so much, we're like, hey, although we obviously, like, support each other and, you know, love to have our individuality. It was like, what's the ultimate goal here? Like, do we want to build 2 separate projects up to the point where we're both doing our own separate things all the time, or do we really want to be doing something together? You know, and after going out, like Lily said, we went out to the West Coast as Lily B. Moonflower and Jake Keegan, and we kept running into this issue where people would be like, "I love it. What do I call you guys?" And Lily would give them the whole spiel of, well, I'm Lily B. Moonflower, as you can see from my merchandise right here, and this is Jake Keegan, as you can see from his merchandise right here. But this is our duo project, Lily B. Moonflower and Jake Keegan. And, like, we'll set our names, like, 4 times in a row, and then the person would be like, oh, wait, what's it called again? You know? And, you know, it's way easier with a band name like MoonShroom, where typically people are like, what? And then you're like, MoonShroom like moon, and shroom like mushroom, and they're like, okay, I get it. It's like, it's okay, yeah. Oh, I get it, yeah. And, you know, and usually we get some goofy reactions, but people at least remember it.
Absolutely, and well, and you guys have a kind of unique approach to kind of how you blend your sound as well. You know, rock, bluegrass, indie folk, Americana, country, all that in there. How would you kind of arrive at that sound and that, you know, I guess quote unquote Grassadelic twang?
I would say it came kind of naturally. We just do what we want, do what we feel, write the songs that come to us, and then it just is what it is, you know? It's like, we don't try too hard to, like, box ourselves into one thing, you know? So
yeah, I think the perfect way to put it is, like, you know, if you get too hung up on, like, a label that you assign yourself or someone else assigns you, then it very quickly becomes, oh, should I be doing this? Is this, like, fitting, like, this niche genre that I want to be in? Is this what the musical identity I'm wanting to put forward? You know, like, previously, I was, like, a bluegrass guy. I was in a very rough and tumble bluegrass band. Lily was doing more of, like, you know, country Americana songwriter stuff. And, you know, and that's really cool and amazing. But we, like, ultimately thought to ourselves, we're like, well, do we want to, like, try to be one thing, or do we want to, like, have to think about what we are, or do we just kind of want to play what comes to us and, like, you know, let the music channel itself through us and just see what happens?
I feel like when people hear MoonShroom, they expect it to be something else than it actually is. Like, kind of like when I had this idea of what the Grateful Dead was in my head when I was younger, and then I actually listened to it, and I was like, this is nothing what I thought it would be, but I guess this is Grateful Dead, and
yeah, you're like, this is a drug band, and then you listen to it, and you're like, actually, this sounds kind of wholesome.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, Jake, I think I've read where you said, you know, music's a fun part of life that, you know, lifts us up and should be celebrated. So kind of, how do you take that ethos into, you know, kind of your approach to making music and just enjoying time on stage?
Oh, well, really, I guess when I think about it is like, if you're not having fun, then what's the point? You know, like, it's a whole lot of effort and a whole lot of time and a lot of money usually to, like, pursue the American dream, the musical dreams, and American dreams. Yeah, sure, both of them. I Freudian slip, I guess, but you know, it's a lot of effort, and I kind of figure, I'm like, hey, if it's not fun, then what are we even doing here? And ultimately, my goal at any show isn't actually centered around my happiness or Lily's happiness or the band's happiness as much as I'm just like, hey, I want to give the crowd a really good time. Like, no matter what's going on as far as like our day to day life goes, or like how much the van ride there sucked driving for 10 hours, or how the sound is on stage. If people are there in the crowd, I'm just mostly concerned with being like, hey, how do we give these people a good time?
I agree.
And then normally there's a mutual symbiosis there where if the crowd is having fun, they kind of feed you that energy, and you're kind of able to process it and put it back out there. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you all have talked about it a little bit. That you guys had. You kind of came from bluegrass, Lily from kind of different backgrounds. What music though did you all grow up on and listen to, and I guess maybe shape some of what you wanted to do?
I kind of grew up on like what was on the radio at the time. I'm 27, and it was kind of like growing up in the 2000s radio era. Plus, like, whenever we would go on road trips, my dad would turn on like the country music stations, and we would listen to that, and I'd be like, wow, why don't we listen to country music all the time? And then then I got into bluegrass later when I was like 17, 18, and went to my first bluegrass jam, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to start getting into this more. And then I started getting into bluegrass, and then went to one of the jams in Kansas City called Rural Grit Night. And it's a jam that's been happening for like 26 years every Monday. And that's where I met Jake for the first time and asked him to record on my album. So bluegrass and roots music kind of brought us together.
Yeah. I was raised up purely listening to like classic rock.
Yeah.
Really, it was like, my dad, for instance, would like blow out the speakers in his car, like cranking up Rolling Stones or Led Zeppelin. Like, my mom really liked AC/DC
and Molly Hatchet.
And Molly Hatchet and Neil Young and stuff, And so I grew up with like a huge classic rock background, which I definitely can see just makes its way into the music somehow that we play. And really, I was into that. That's what I was like, remember listening to from when I was a little kid. I remember I thought Leonard Skinner was like the coolest band ever, before I even knew what Southern rock was. I was like, oh, this is so soulful, and there's like 3 electric guitars in this band. What's going on? And
that's where you got it.
Yeah, that's where I got it. And that was what I was like listening to growing up. And then, of course, everyone goes through that embarrassing stage of music taste when it's like, oh, but I don't want to just listen to the music my parents listen to. I want to listen to what my classmates in 6th grade are listening to. And then, yeah, I can go through my guitar notebook that I still have from taking guitar lessons, and I'll be like, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, Green Day, okay, not bad. Okay, we're back into Leonard Skinner. This is good. AC/DC, Blink-182.
What about your Sublime phase?
Oh, okay, Sublime's still kind of cool, but Sublime's cool. When I listen to it, I'm like, oh, I'm back in high school smoking weed in a Honda Civic, But I don't, the alternative music didn't really stick with me as much, or the punk music didn't, but I still love all that old classic rock music. And then, when I was in high school, one of my good friends growing up that I played in one of my first bands with, his family started going to this bluegrass festival in Kansas called the Walnut Valley Bluegrass Festival. Most people around the region know it as Winfield. People from this area of southern Kansas just know it as bluegrass, because it's a festival that's been going on since like 1975. And it is like a real deal bluegrass festival where, a large portion of the attendees don't even go to the main stage to see the shows. They're just hanging out at the campsites picking, like, constantly. Just non-stop picking going on.
There's a Kentucky camp there.
There is a Kentucky camp there. There's people that come from all over the country and all over the world. And
it's the international flat picking contest.
They have the international flat picking and fiddling contest, and amongst a lot of other, they have hammer dulcimer contests. They have, it's the first place I ever saw anyone rolling around on a golf cart with a hurdy-gurdy, just playing hurdy-gurdy, a LED lit up hurdy-gurdy on a golf cart. It's a vivid memory. But that was a spot where I really started to cut my teeth on bluegrass. Like, I showed up and, I was a songwriter primarily. Couldn't take a lead or flat pick to save my life. It's pre-dobro. And I remember just being blown away by the musicianship. And, I started to get more into the bluegrass music that way, in the traditional sense. And then I started seeing bands like Yonder Mountain String Band and, Split Lip Rayfield's a band from Kansas that's, kind of like the local heroes around here. And, I started to see more of those progressive bluegrass acts. And one thing led to another. And at one of the Harvest music festivals, Jerry Douglas was essentially the artist at large. And I was like, okay, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I bought a dobro literally 3 days after seeing Jerry Douglas at a festival. I was like saving up for a Telecaster, and I saw Jerry Douglas, and I was like, I'm going to go buy one of those things, And I couldn't have been luckier that that happened. It majorly changed the trajectory of my life, I feel like.
I was gonna say it's led you down this path with MoonShroom and a new album that people will get to enjoy, and kind of with the music, you kind of also have a vibe with it. I feel like, whether that's some neon themes, the mushroom imagery. How important is kind of that expression, and how does that tie into the music and the shows?
I'll let you take this one, Lily. Oh.
I would say the expression in the music is the utmost priority, because without the music, you wouldn't have expression, and if you don't express yourself, then no one ever can resonate with you. So I feel like I'm just so grateful to be able to have music and songwriting as an outlet in my life, because it has completely transformed my life. I can't even imagine what I would be doing if I wasn't a musician, so.
Yeah, and I would say, to kind of roll off that and, piggyback onto bringing it full circle to the crazy, I kind of refer to it as an intergalactic rodeo sometimes, where, Lily, just her personality is kind of like a rainbow shooting star unicorn, and she has a passion for fashion. And she'll just wear these crazy outfits, and although not everyone is has that crazy, extravagant outfit catalog, the rest of us were kind of ready for it. Where we're like, okay, Lily's wearing these crazy fringed outfits. I got a weird pearl snap that someone gave me at 3 a.m. in Minneapolis that one time. I'm gonna rock that,
His brother says that he's the best at wearing ugly shirts.
Yeah, my brother told me that once.
It's a good compliment.
He's not wrong. Sometimes I have some shirts I'm like, oh, people like to give me, that's the other thing, I feel like, Lily gets clothes gifted to her all the time. People give me crazy shirts all the time where they're like, oh yeah, I just saw this, and I said, who the hell would wear this? But then I thought of you, and I thought this would be perfect. I'm like, thank you. It kind of looks like my grandma's couch a little bit from growing up, but I'll wear it, why not? But yeah, we do kind of try to carry that theme, because I think that really, it comes back to the free creative expression of the music, where we're like, oh, we don't want to box ourselves in musically.
We just want to be ourselves and do our thing,
But then it's also
because no one else is doing that.
Okay, we have a lot of normal clothes, or but we also have these crazy weird vintage clothes that people give us, or for our music videos, we're like, okay, we could do the classic music video where we try to take it seriously, But at least me personally, if I try to act serious on camera, it's like a dead giveaway. Like my face looks awkward. Like I look like I'm trying too hard. Like I'm not. I'm good at candid videography or candid photography, but like if it's like strike a pose, or hey, look out at this dirt road like you're contemplating life. Like I'll look really awkward. Some people can pull that off great. They're much more stoic. But like for at least what we do, we're like, okay, we can't do this, but what we can do is call up a bunch of our friends and say, hey, you guys want to make a bunch of weird, wacky outfits and like, throw a crazy party for our music video essentially. And then, they all came through, like, I'm not sure if you've seen the Party on the Moon music video, but it's pretty outlandish. A lot of those outfits are homemade by our friends and fans. A lot of the community pitched in to help make that set and everything. So,
I was gonna say, I mean, what was it like filming that video? Because I feel like you had just a little bit of fun.
Oh yeah,
it was like a week straight of working really, really, really hard to make a dream a reality. Like we literally spent so long like planning every detail of it. We had such a small budget that like we had to do everything ourselves. So we just called up like our entire like artistic community and all of our friends, and we all got together at our house and like started making the set props and making the costumes and everything, and spent however long doing that. And then we went to the locations and spent like an entire day setting up the props and on set. And then the next day, after going to bed at like 4 or 5 a.m., we woke up at like 8 to go start shooting and filming the music video for like 12 hours straight.
Let me clarify some context. This idea was it was a long-term idea where we had the concept in our heads. As far as the execution went, it was all condensed into like 2 weeks. Because it was like, oh, we have this great idea for this music video. Oh, we should do this. We should do that. We should have crazy, gigantic mushrooms everywhere. Like we had this whole idea, but when it really came down to it, it was more like we spent so much time recording, and we're very busy on the road. We play shows every week. If we're not on the road, we're at least going and hitting it hard for the weekend. If we're not going on like an extended run or tour. So what it more ended up in is us looking at the release calendar and being like, oh, wow, okay. Our team is telling us we need the music video a month ahead of the release to pitch. And we're like, oh, wait, this really snuck up on us. We just went from having 3 months to get this done to, okay, what's our tour schedule like? Okay, there's literally a Tuesday and a Wednesday that we have available to film, that we're not like on the road or about to go on the road. Like, okay, there's this 2-day period that we have to get it done.
I think we literally left for spring tour the day after we filmed the video.
We got back in town from like a 5-day run or something. Had coordinated with our friends when we're on the road. We're like, hey, can you guys come to our house and help us make this set? Spent a night making the set, the next night setting up, the next night filming, the next day filming, and we filmed for 12 hours straight.
And then left for tour the next day.
Yeah, and then left for tour the next day. So it was wacky. And then, our friend Drew at Coin and Log Creative, he really pulled one off for us on pretty last minute terms, and he got it edited for us within a week. Within a week or two. Yeah. Him and his team really crushed it on that. So, yeah, that music video was, but at the same time, it maybe wouldn't have turned out the same way if it wasn't so, I don't know, it was like chaotic, but in a good way,
It's not that we're procrastinators, we just have so much to do all the time that when we realize, okay, now we need to do this, then it's like, okay, we have 2 days to do like all this stuff to make this happen. And I would say we're becoming certified professionals at anything that needs to be done last minute.
Hey, and we just dropped another music video today. Lily's a mermaid. Lily's a mermaid in that music video. It's a love song called Waves of Love. And
it was a little less rushed.
Yeah, it was a little less rushed. Still ridiculous. Because, we like to do funny ideas. And we plan to release more music videos as we go on, too. Because, even though some people say, like, oh, the full-length music video, there's no point anymore. Just make a TikTok or something. We like to make the music videos for us because it's like the same.
We like to watch music videos.
It's like the same thing as cutting like a full-length album. It's like, we could just release singles, but we want to release a whole body of work,
I think people do care about the full-length anything.
I think it's a great idea because, one, you get to see maybe where you were thinking the song could go visually and so forth, and someone else might have a different visual in mind and just have fun with it. But, Party on the Moon was the first single y'all released from Take a Trip. Why'd you want to lead with that one and kind of set the tone for this album, so to speak?
I feel like our idea for releasing that one first was, like, come out with a bang.
Yeah, let's come crashing
Introduce MoonShroom as, like, how we want to be seen, how we truly are.
Yeah, because I feel like Party on the Moon has a good balance of bouncing between, like, that country train beat and then getting, like, super funky and weird. So we were like, okay, if we come out with one of, like, our, like, chiller, more, like, Americana country songs at first, it might give some people the idea of being like, oh, okay, this is going to be, like, a normal country Americana band, and then they might be surprised by the weirdness after we've already started to release content, where with this, we're like, okay, let's just come out of the gates, come blaring out of the gates, shoot out the cannon, and we can reel it back before we move it forward again.
And then with Waves of Love, people are probably like, okay, they can be like soft and sweet.
yeah. So I guess it was really just being like, it's the last song on the album where kind of the concept of it.
Let's show them where the trip takes them.
Yeah, it's like when a movie starts at the end, and then they're like, but first, before you know how I got to this point, we're going to have to take you back in time to explain how we got here or something. Oh, man, I just mumbled that one out of my mouth. But,
I knew what you meant.
Yeah, okay, you're picking up what I'm putting down. But yeah, it was kind of like, okay, let's come crashing out with, like, one of the highest energy things we have, because the whole concept of Party on the Moon, came about where Lily was like, oh, I have this idea, Party on the Moon. And then I started to kind of get these ideas and melodies in my head where I was like, oh, I'm hearing this hook of Symphony of Stars, sing their favorite tune. And Lily sings it way better than me. I heard a trumpet in my head, but I was like, but Lily's voice could be that trumpet. And then the whole purpose of the song was to be like, hey, by the end, we kind of want it to explode like musical confetti where it all just comes raining down on the floor, and it's all just left on the floor of the stage, of the studio, wherever we are. And so we figured we might as well open it up with a party so people knew what we were about, And then we'll also sweet love songs intertwined in there, but...
No, I love it. They gotta at least know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
At any point. And the album, while we're talking, it comes out Friday, June 27th. By the time this drops, it is out now that folks can listen to it. So what can folks expect when they go through this album? Because to me, I think it's a fun trip.
Yeah, like I said, it definitely takes you on a trip. It starts out in Kansas, where we live, Sunflower State of Mind, and then kind of goes backwards to the time when Jake and I started dating, and the second song is actually one of the first songs I ever heard of Jake's when we first started hanging out and playing together, and it's a sweet, touching song, and it kind of tells a story of like what life was like before we were doing MoonShroom together, because it's like
missing your significant other while you're on the road, which I'm sure a lot of people can identify with, because like before I met Lily, I went through through a long period of time, and when we first started dating, when it was like, oh, it's hard to be on the road. Like, how do you chase your dreams and your passion, and at the same time also maintain a healthy personal life at home, and then it moves on from that to Take a Trip, which is a traveling song about being with the person you love, just going camping with your dog.
And Take a Trip is the song and video that we launched MoonShroom with when we were out on the West Coast at Mount Shasta 3 years ago now. So I feel like that kind of encompasses like the origin story of MoonShroom, and it just gives me that vibe of like when we first started making this happen together.
Yeah, and hey, funny full circle moment about how Lily was talking about how preconceived notions about the Grateful Dead where he was like, is this a drug reference? And it's like, no, it's wholesome. Take a Trip is kind of like that too. It's like,
True.
Oh, take a trip, I get it. And then it's like, really? Because listen to it, it's about going camping with your dog. Yeah. And then,
Clever, you MoonShroom. Clever.
Yeah. Then we bust into Somewhere on a Mountain, which is kind of just it's a metaphorical song about any walk of life you're in. Like the path to success is often not linear. There's a lot of ups and downs.
It kind of has some references to like the COVID era when
everything fell apart.
Yeah. And now you're back at the start.
Yeah. And then Lily has Driving Through the Night, which is, kind of, it starts off as an eerie Americana song and then kind of busts into disco for some reason. And then I think by that point we start getting into Waves of Love.
So it takes you from the mountains, driving through the night, to the ocean.
Yeah, it takes you to the ocean. And then, from there I think we do the Damn Thing, which kind of has some weird reggae.
I love that song. I think that might be my favorite.
Hey,
hell yeah, dude!
Dude, and that song happened so organically because Lily wrote it, and I was like, man, this is gonna be on someone's workout playlist. And then we had our drummer Nate come play on it, and he has played in several reggae bands, so he just starts hitting it with a one drop, and then we're like, oh wow, that's not how we normally play that song at all. He's like, oh sorry, and we're like, no, we like it, and and then on the recording, man, I couldn't be happier with that. Like on the recording, like we kind of went into the studio and kind of knew that we wanted to be free range on how it ended up, and we had like arrangements and plans, and then sometimes cool stuff just randomly happened. And on Do the Damn Thing, I can't forget, like we had our friend Stosh come in, and he plays keys and fiddle on the album as a guest, and he plays with us a lot. He's a busy guy, he's very talented, but we play with him when we can, and he was initially just going to play piano. And then the studio was like, they kind of specialize in analog gear and vintage gear, and they were like, hey, you can use the Fender Rhodes or the Wurlitzer, but hey, if we're doing a reggae song, use the Fender Rhodes on Party on the Moon, but for Do the Damn Thing, you should use the Whirly. So then I remember hearing the Wurlitzer and the dobro sync up at the same time, and I was like, man, that's making my dobro sound like it's like dripping with like honey or something. I love it. I've never heard, and I've listened to a lot of dobro music. I don't think I've ever heard dobro and Wurlitzer at the same time, but that was a cool moment. Then Living the Dream, we kind of just take it and be like, oh, okay, we can do a little bit more of like a country thing, straightforward song. Then Weekend with Me, which just randomly came out of my brain. That was like the weird song that I wrote directly, like right before we recorded the album. I had a bunch of like slower, more songwriter songs, and then for whatever reason, I was just hanging out playing guitar and like started to hear this weird melody in my head. And then I started playing, and I was like, I don't even know what kind of music this is, but this is what I wrote. And then Lily's like, I like that a lot. We should put that on the album. So I was like, okay, let's try it for science, you know. So we randomly have a jammer, and that takes us all the way home to Party on the Moon, which we've kind of gone into. So really, I guess what people can expect is exactly what they expect, and a little bit of what they might be surprised to be like, where the hell did this song come from? You know, like, it's kind of funny. We're playing some bluegrass festivals, you know, which is very full circle moment for us for some of these festivals, like the Walnut Valley Festival. Been going to for 12 years. It's where I cut my teeth learning bluegrass. It's like where I learned like what the genre really was, like aside from the festival or like, you know, the jam band aspect of it. That's like where I learned what traditional bluegrass really was. And we get to play that festival this year, which is a huge honor. And, you know, our set is definitely going to be more tailored to that. But the people that buy the album or the CD might start off and for the first half of the album be like, this MoonShroom band's all right. By the second half, they might be like, what happened? You know? Or who knows, maybe they'll be rocking out to it and kind of forget that it morphed out of a bluegrass album into a weird jam rock album. But really, the ultimate goal for us was just to make something that we were artistically satisfied with and that we thought was cool and entertaining. And, you know, and if other people find that cool, then even better, you know. But we had fun with it. We're happy with it.
No, and it's a fantastic album. It's a, pun intended, a fun trip. And you talk about the recording part. You guys were there in Kansas City at Element Recording, did a lot of things live. What was that like? Because like you said, some other things that you might not have thought of really came out of that for the album.
I was glad that we did it live because the last album that I did, we did like single track, and I feel like to be at this studio and to not do it live just like wouldn't serve the music, because doing it live like really captured the spirit of MoonShroom, and to be able to like have that and then build upon that by laying like harmony tracks and like other, like we came in with the fiddle, we came in with the whirly, we came in with the Rhodes, and laid tracks on top of that. So it
came in with the didgeridoo. Just kidding. No, we didn't have a didgeridoo.
Came in with the chimes.
Yeah, we had some chimes on there.
No, it was.
Well,
next time,
it was
right?
Nice
Next time.
It was cool because we initially booked 5 days, 5 8-hour days. Like that was the initial deal. Sorry if these cars are driving around. We were in small town Kansas and people's trucks are loud. But it was cool because we booked 5 days in the studio. So we booked 40 hours, and it was just like, okay, we're just gonna knock out as much as we can, and stretch our legs out.
And we had the drummer for 2 days.
Yeah, we only had the drummer in there for 2 days to get So we
had to record 10 songs live in 2 days.
Yeah, the first couple of days were crazy.
And then do everything else on top.
The rest of the time we had was a little bit more laid back of being like, okay, like, hey, we got 90% of the dobro in the live take, but I'll punch in for the solo here, or hey, we feel like adding, we feel like adding some like vocal harmonies where like Lily doubles up on her vocals for a couple of them. We were able to like take some creative liberties that we typically haven't been able to take in other instances, just because, a lot of times when you're recording, it's on a very short time budget where you're like, oh, either I need to get this all done like right now, or it's, oh, we only have so much time today. And it's not to say like all of our other recordings we've done for MoonShroom I'm super happy with. Like, those other recordings, like we did one live in Nashville, like completely live in 4 hours. We did another one at our friend Bo's house in Kansas City where we were able to build the song up and it sounded really amazing in its own special way. But this time was like kind of a cool combination of all those things, since we got to record the foundation live, get that live feel. The engineer and producer Joel, he kind of set us free early on when we were trying to record to a click, and he's like, hey guys, some bands record to clicks all the time. You guys don't have to be a band that records to a click. And we played, we did a few takes to a click, and then, after a certain one, he's like, hey, try it without a click. And as soon as we did without a click, it was like we just started gelling in this cool way where the song breathed a little bit more, and it had a little bit more, like, it had a little bit more stank to it. It had a little bit more flow to it. And, although it's not like, you know, perfect in every sense of the word, like, art's not necessarily meant to be perfect. So, it was at least genuine to what we were doing in that moment. Mm-hmm. And we're happy with it. And it's really hard to gauge success in this day and age in music. It's like, oh, do I look at numbers and metrics specifically to gauge whether or not I'm successful with something, or do I look at, you know, any aspect of the music industry and use that to tell me whether or not I should be happy with the music I put out? And fortunately, with this, I think our gauge of success is, hey, we put a lot of time into this. We put 5 days into tracking, then another 3 days into tracking, another 24 hours because we had to add on. We spent another 40 hours mixing it. We were very involved in the mixing process. So it was like, at the end of the day, we put as much time as we needed to get it just right, to at least
how we liked
it, and we're satisfied with it.
Yeah.
And now we're ready to share it with the world. And I think it's a much healthier gauge of success to think of it in that way, of like, hey, we're stoked with how it sounds. If other people think it's cool, that's just a bonus.
Yeah.
Well, and it's, you guys are now finally kind of letting it, live free in the world. And you mentioned this, you guys tour extensively, you play festivals, you're on stage a lot. What's your favorite part about being on stage?
Definitely connecting with the audience and having our songs be heard and resonate with people in whatever way they're going to, because it's different for everyone. And each night is really different for us, too. It's like so many different factors go into each show. And some shows you remember more than most, but they're all pretty memorable in their own ways, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say my favorite moment of being on stage is like seeing people genuinely enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll be on stage and you'll look out and you'll just see someone that's, throwing their inhibitions to the wind and they're just dancing. Or they don't have to be dancing. They could just be like smiling. You look out and you see someone just beaming joy to be in that moment, and they've let go of like whatever is like, whatever's weighing them down in the world. And in that moment, they're happy. And in that moment, I feel happy, because I'm like, okay, these people are genuinely enjoying themselves. I'm getting to do what I love. I'm enjoying myself, and I'm enjoying that they're enjoying themselves, Mm-hmm. So, like, that's kind of it, because sometimes you're on, like, whether you're opening up for some of your musical heroes, which is always a great honor, or you're just playing for a crowd that is, like, very receptive to, like, what you're putting out there. There's sometimes you, like, really have to, like, I have this moment where I'm like, oh, wow, like, this is real life right now. Like, I'm living the dream right now, and music can be very feast or famine sometimes, where sometimes you're trying to pay bills, or you're roughing it on the road, or you're getting screwed over in some way or another, and you're like, what the fuck am I doing with my life right now? Like, you kind of have like these little mini crisis modes in your mind if things aren't going right. But then other times you feel like you've hit a cheat code in life, and you're like, okay, what did I do right that I deserve to be doing what I'm doing right now? And, I feel it's a total balance of taking both of those things and, like, just accepting them both, because they're both going to continue to happen, I'm sure. But, like, I would say it's those good moments make everything else worth it,
Absolutely, absolutely. And when we start out these conversations, I always want to know what you're enjoying, what you're drinking. As we get toward the end, I love to ask this one, and it's, What's your favorite song of yours right now that you love to perform live?
I would say I have two. One of mine is like a really sweet song, Born to Shine, that kind of like connects everyone and makes everyone feel one with each other in the world. And then the other one is kind of just like an all out, like crazy song called The Bronco, which is about a horse that can't be tamed.
Yeehaw!
And it's kind of one where I get to like let loose and just like give it all I got, you know? So kind of the two ends of the spectrum. I like doing both.
Hey, I like playing both of those songs too, because one's really sweet and it gives us a chance to show our delicate side.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other one is just like a balls to the wall, like it's a total burner, you know. And I'd have to say, like, I feel kind of similar about a couple of songs that I wrote that we play. You know, there. If we're talking the album, I love playing Somewhere on a Mountain just because it's a bluegrass burner, it's a foot stomper, and it gives us a chance to be like, okay, we're gonna pick on this one, you know, we're gonna do one people can stomp their feet to. But then yeah, I also enjoy playing the slower songs. I love playing Waves of Love. As far as the album goes, there's a couple songs unreleased from the album that is kind of similar like that, where I really enjoy playing a fast song or a slow song for different reasons. But say if it was off the album, both ends of the spectrum. Same thing as kind of what Lily's saying, you know. Play the fast burner Somewhere on the Mountain, play the slow love song Waves of Love to where we can all take a breath. And yeah, they're really good for different reasons.
Yeah, the show, if it doesn't have dynamics, then it's just like all either like same, or just like same,
Yeah.
you know?
You got to give the people all the feels, right?
Yeah.
So true.
That's kind of the point of art, I think, is to sway people emotionally in some direction, including ourselves.
Yes.
You know.
Hey, I think when you're having fun, everyone else is having fun, and vice versa, like you said. And you know, the album's out. You know, when this drops, Take a Trip is out. Everyone can enjoy it. You know, I know you guys stay busy on the road. So what else can folks expect from you? Because this is crazy to say. We're 6 months through the year, so like, what can they expect the rest of the year?
A lot more tour dates, you know. We've always been a band up until this point that's toured with like barely any music for people to listen to. Like a lot of times people would go to a town for the third or fourth time and they're like, when are you guys dropping an album I can listen to? And you know, and this album release has been such a slow burn since we decided to take our time with it, you know, get all the ducks in a row before we released it. So I think really the plan is to be like, okay, we did it right by music industry standards for once and took our time on the music to put out a good product. And now we're just gonna be happy to tour and share it with people. We just got back from a West Coast tour. We went out and played Denver, Salt Lake City, Boise, Idaho. Went up to Portland, Oregon, Eugene, Oregon, Bend, Oregon. Did all that stuff. And yeah, now we're back home doing our album release show.
We're also gonna work on making some more music videos.
Yeah, more music videos. So we're gonna have more visual content coming out, and hopefully touring just far and wide. We're going back out west to Denver and Colorado, Salt Lake City a couple more times this year. Hopefully, we'll be coming your way. I love me some Kentucky.
Yeah.
I've had some really good times in Louisville. I've played that Terrapin Hills farm spot a couple times. I'd love to make it back there. I've done Zanzibar before. So yeah, hopefully we come down to Kentucky. You know, we do a festival down in the Memphis area that we took a break on this year because we were getting married and our business partner's son was getting married. So we're like, okay, both families are taking a year off for matrimony. But we'll be getting back to that, hopefully doing some more Memphis and Nashville area stuff. And really the goal for the end of the year is to, make it east. We want to come through your area in Kentucky. We want to go through Tennessee. We want to, hopefully get it out to New England. That's kind of what's in the works right now. Can't quote me on that 100% because booking shows is crazy, but we typically always make it happen, and if we book the show, we show up. So
I love to hear that, and it looks like y'all got some fun things ahead, and you got an amazing album to celebrate and share with folks, and you know, folks, if you haven't, give MoonShroom a listen, take a trip, it'll be well worth it. And Jake, Lily, thank you all for sharing a drink with me, and
thank
cheers.
you, Jonathan. Yeah,
Thank you.
Cheers.
Nice to meet ya.
Yeah, hit it with one of those.